Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another edition of Adam Interviews, where we are talking with folks in the community who are worth noting. And since we are in January, I thought we'd bring in Bob Hartman. He is the co-owner of AltBar here in Rochester. For many people, Bob, January means dry January. And I don't even know the derivation of that. Perhaps you do. Does this mean, and by the way, let me step back. When we talk about AltBar, we are talking about a bar that offers non-alcoholic beverages. And so do you see an uptick in January?
Absolutely, yeah. So we, and I would clarify, it's only non-alcoholic beverages at AltBar too. So, a lot of bars and restaurants are offering more and more NA, which is great. But yeah, in January, we've been open about a year and a half now, and last January was our busiest month of the year. And this January so far, it's looking to be just the same.
Where are you located? Where can we find you?
Yeah, we're at 1947 East Main Street in the North Winton Village.
Very nice. And so if people come in, what do they see? What's the bar look like?
Yeah, to me, it looks like a quote unquote regular bar. There's a long bar with, a few bar stools at it. There's some high tops. There's some, seating in the back. And it looks and feels and acts like a, alcoholic bar, except there's no alcohol.
And you and your wife, Meg, started this together?
Yes.
How did this journey begin?
Yeah. So, for us, it started about 6 years ago. I quit drinking about 6 years ago, and my wife and I, Meg, we would go out, and, we had 2 young kids, and the babysitter comes over, we go out for a date, and we don't want to go home before the babysitter puts the kids in bed. They were, 6 years ago, they would have been 3 and 1 and 3 at the time. So you don't want to go home before the babysitter puts the kids in bed. As a non-drinker, my options were limited in terms of what we could do after dinner. And I saw a place in Austin, Texas called Sands Bar, and they did an all non-alcoholic, it's a non-alcoholic bar, probably the OG non-alcoholic bar in the country. And he was offering, Chris Marshall, the owner of Sands Bar, was offering a class to learn more. And this was 2021 or so.
And what were you doing at the time?
So I was working at MVP Healthcare in product management. And my wife was working full-time as a professor at Roberts Wesleyan of marketing. And, it was a couple of years after I quit drinking, and, it's 2021, kind of out of the height of COVID, and we're thinking I want to learn something new. So I took this class from him, and the final exam was to host a pop-up. And so we hosted a pop-up. A pop-up is like, you go and you serve your drinks at somebody else's place, and it sold out. Yeah, we did our first pop-up in December of 21 at Fuego Coffee.
Oh, Fuego, nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, Tony
great
and
spot.
Renee are great supporters of ours, great friends, good people. And so we sold out. We did another pop-up in January, and it was standing room only. We didn't do tickets to that one. Probably should have. And then we just kept doing pop-ups for like a year.
And when you say pop-ups, what would be there at the pop-up? Did you make your own stuff? What was there?
No, thanks for asking. Yeah, so it was all non-alcoholic cocktails. So the stuff that I learned through the class and everything was how to treat non-alcoholic cocktails like you would treat an alcoholic cocktail. So that means premium ingredients, good attention to detail. You're still garnishing it properly. You're still using the right glassware. And they don't have to be alcoholic or non-alcoholic counterparts to alcoholic cocktails. They can be their own thing, but it still should be an adult, sophisticated beverage that requires, a certain level of depth, a certain level of complexity, a certain level of interest in the drink.
Did you have any bartending experience before you went to Texas and kind of learned the way of the world here?
No. No, and actually one of my favorite stories was Tony over at Fuego. I made him a non-alcoholic dark and stormy. And I'm stirring it in a glass. And if you know anything about a dark and stormy, it has lime juice in it, so it should really be shaken. And I'm stirring it like a witch's cauldron, just elbow, shoulder, everything in the motion.
Casting a spell.
Yeah. And so Tony writes down Ralph DiTucci's phone number over at Grace and Disgrace and Crystalino Ice. And he says, why don't you give Ralph a call? And Ralph and Megan Goodney at the time taught me how to bartend, taught me how to actually do the bartending side of things, because I did not have that hospitality experience. And now that we have a brick and mortar location, we hire bartenders that have a lot of industry experience and really lean on them to really make that experience the most positive we can.
It seems pretty bold to me. I mean, I love the idea of creating this without kind of having a bartender's experience. In a way, was that a positive because you kind of reinvented the wheel, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a positive as much as it it was definitely a handicap at first. It was something that we had to work around at first. And I think having Meg's marketing experience and having my business experience helped us kind of view things a little bit differently. So there's a lot of non-alcoholic bars and restaurants, or not restaurants, I'm sorry, bars and bottle shops around the country. And they're having, some of them are very successful and some of them are closing pretty quickly after they open.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a new market, it's a new industry, and I think having our business experience and marketing experience has helped us
interesting. Okay.
maybe be a little bit more sustainable. Not trying to be arrogant about it, but
No,
but
I mean, it
think,
makes sense.
I think that angle, because we have been very lucky and fortunate to just lean on hospitality experts like Ralph, like Megan, like our bartenders to really fill that gap. And then our strength is more on the business side of things.
And how, I guess I should ask, how have things been going?
Great.
Yeah.
No, things have been great. Our first year, we're not, we didn't lose money in our first year, which I think is an accomplishment in the bar and restaurant industry, especially in today's climate right now. Not a lot of people with, going out as much, from what we've heard and read, other folks in Rochester and the hospitality scene are not having as good of a year or two as previous years have been. So things have been really positive, and the community has been phenomenal. Just absolutely.
In what way?
Well, so this guy makes non-alcoholic bitters out in Chico, California, and he called it the ROI of joy. And the reason I bring that up is the community has been so grateful and so gracious and so supportive of what we've been doing. There's been naysayers, sure. There's been people that, oh, what a terrible idea. You'll be closed in a month, and, the comment warriors online. But there's been like a lot of local businesses here in Rochester that have been nothing but supportive, and it's been really uplifting.
So I suppose this is when I'll tell you, Bob, that I've been kind of on my own journey. I've been grateful enough to have a healthy relationship with alcohol. At the same time, I have an eye condition, so I'm on this medication. I've talked a little bit about this, and it doesn't mix well.
Yeah.
So I've had to significantly reduce it, and it's been hard. A lot of my social, as many have found, a lot of my socialization has been around that. I loved visiting breweries, and I'm very glad that a lot of them are now offering an NA option.
Yeah.
Because basically what I found is I can have like one beer,
Right.
and then I've got to venture back into the norm. And so I'm very grateful that as I approached this change, you and so many other people started to, I don't know, the timing of it seemed to work out very well. So I'm very grateful.
The timing has been really interesting. The stats show, different studies have some conflicting data, but by and large, 80-90% of people who buy NA still drink. And so, my story about sobriety is the minority of
That's
who
really
we
interesting.
serve.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, 80 to 90%, depending on what study you read, are still drinkers. And so it's about medications, it's about training for a race, it's about being pregnant, it's about supporting friends who don't drink or family members who don't drink. It's about so many different walks of life and so many reasons to abstain in that moment. It's not about abstinence forever for many people. It's about abstinence in that moment. And that might even be, we've had people come in who've gone out and had drinks and then come into AltBar to have non-alcoholic drinks just to extend their night so they remember it the next day.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
And so it's really, there's so many good reasons to do it. And we're not anti-alcohol either. So it's not like, we're saying you should never drink again.
Mm-hmm.
But the timing, like you said, it's only possible, I think, because of a couple of different things all happening at the same time. There's the newer, Gen Z coming in and drinking less and less and being more health-minded and wellness-minded. There's more of that wellness movement, within the country as a whole. And then there's manufacturers of good products. I don't blast any products, on your show here, but
I don't care.
There's a lot of tropes out there.
Do what you got to do.
No, there's a lot of tropes. There's a lot of stereotypes of the old stuff that just wasn't good.
That's true.
And it objectively wasn't good. And now there's good stuff. And that's, that makes AltBar possible. Like if I was just doing juices and teas and syrups, I can make some interesting stuff, but I can't make a whole business out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got NA whiskeys, NA gins rather, NA Amaros, NA vermouths. You know, I've got stuff doing their own thing that are complex flavors, and that just opens up the playbook entirely.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And then do you serve beer as well, or is it just cocktails?
We do. We've got NA beer too. I've got one on draft,
Ooh.
Twisted Rail down in Geneva.
How is it?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
What kind?
It's they call it a New England IPA.
Yeah.
To me, it's more of like a farmhouse style.
Yeah, I've
IPA.
noted. I think it's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt, but even some of the more popular or nationally recognized NA beers, whenever they say NA, I get ready for a farmhouse taste. I don't know what it is, but that's generally.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's interesting though, because like, you know, and I think it plays well. You know, the coriander, the citrus rind kind of flavors that they have in
Yeah.
it. I think it's phenomenal. It's not like a really juicy treehouse, you know, kind of beer. It's more, but it's got some juiciness to it, you know. So it's definitely a New England IPA, but I think it leans a little bit in the farmhouse style. And it's cool that they're, you know, right there in Geneva,
Yeah.
you know, and they're making probably my favorite NA beer right now.
I love the idea of having an NA beer on tap, by the way.
It's so
That's
good.
so cool. And then you
Yeah.
get it, you get it poured. The first time I did that, it was at Other Half.
Yep.
Apparently they have a new NA beer that they say is better, but I liked the one that they first came out with. And I loved the idea of going there, being amongst the crowd and getting a beer poured for me. Again, a lot of it is habit and ritual.
It's completely ritual. It's just the act of moving from the table to your mouth with a pint glass that looks like beer, right? And it's great if it doesn't taste bad, you know.
That's the plus,
but,
yeah.
But Other Half has some phenomenal beers too. They had an NA Porter. I was down in DC maybe a year ago. That was pretty good. That's like, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of the dark beers. I don't know if they're harder to make from a brewer's perspective because of that weight, that body that the alcohol is missing. But it's you know, because I'd love to have seasonals on tap. You know, it's hard for us to get NA beer on tap. But you know, we try to have one or two on at all times. But right now our options are a little limited, and you know, not limited in the sense that it's a great beer, but limited in the sense that I'd love to have a Kolsch or a sour or a, you know, porter or whatever.
That's so. I will say I do enjoy the NA Guinness. I think they nailed it.
Good.
I think they really nailed it. There are a couple others just because I love this conversation and I don't get to talk about it much because you know, it's just something that hasn't come up. But I think Corona, you throw a lime in there.
Yep.
They've nailed it.
Hard to tell the difference.
It really is. I don't know if that speaks to regular Corona, but the Jenny stuff I like. They've done a nice job.
Good, yep.
And yeah, there's a few others that I'm really interested to try the new Other Half. But when I find one now, it's like it's amazing how it provides that. I talked to my brother-in-law one time. When he walked in home from work, he just cracked the can and started drinking. And he realized it would take the energy away, and then he wouldn't do his chores that he had to do. So he supplemented it with an NA or a sparkling water, and just that act of like that sound that it did the trick.
It's so much of it psychological. So much of it is just, like you said, the act of doing it, the sound of the beer opening, the smell and the aromas, the olfactory, you know, recognition that prompts. That just kind of relaxes you. It just in that context, you know, that, you know, or like the social lubricant, you know, so to speak. Like how much of it is because it's booze and how much of it is because you've got something in your hand. And so now you don't know what to do with your hands. You don't have anything in your hands, you know, like you feel awkward. Like you got something in your hand and you're drinking, and if there's a pause in the conversation, you take a sip. You know, how much of it is just...
And a conversation piece too.
Yeah.
Oh, what's yours taste like? You know, whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So it's so much of it is the ritual. So much of it is just... And then it's, to us, one of our core values as a business is inclusivity, and it's being included. So like, you know, maybe for you, you know, you're not able to have another one because of your medication. Maybe for me, I'm not able to have one because I've got a problem with it. Either way, we're included if the venue that we're at includes something other than a Shirley Temple, you know, other than a club soda and lime.
Was it, in one way, and I apologize for maybe delving down this road, and feel free if it gets uncomfortable. But if you have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, being back in that setting, could it be triggering? Could it lead to problems, or is it healthy in that it offers you the alternative AltBar that it's supposed to?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question because it's such a complicated answer. And so before our very first pop-up, I literally couldn't sleep the night before because I just kept having thoughts that I was going to be the reason somebody relapsed. I kept thinking I was going to be the reason that somebody, not like kept thinking like fixating on it, but I was just worried about it, right? Because for some people, especially in certain circles and certain theories and everything, people, places, things, you're not supposed to go anywhere near it. You're not supposed to emulate it. And so for those people, you know, it's a bar setting, so that's the places side of things. But we offer mocktails that don't have any NA spirits in them whatsoever.
Right.
Because we've had people come up to us and smell the NA gin and say, I can't do it.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
it's just
interesting.
too much, right? Like that olfactory, again, recognition, where it's
Yeah.
like it just brings them back to another time in their
Right.
life. So, you know, we have mocktails that are just juices, teas, syrups, nothing that emulate alcohol for that crowd. But it's really, I'm rambling a little bit to
No,
come
you're
back
not
to
rambling
the,
at all. I'm,
Yeah, to come back to say, like,
yeah.
it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a newer movement, and I'm not an addiction specialist by any means, but there's a newer movement where it's more about harm reduction. It's more about, you know, if this is something that's going to help someone in their journey,
Yeah.
then there's more support for that recently. But it's still a gray area. You know,
Yeah.
people in the recovery circles, some of them applaud us, some of them don't like us, because it's a gray area where, like, what are you trying to do? For me in my journey,
Yeah.
I quit drinking the next day I opened an athletic. You know, the last day I had a drink was, you know, day 1 or day 0. Day 1, I opened up an athletic beer, and I've been drinking NA ever since. And I don't think I'd be able to stay sober without NA drinks because of that ritual, because of that feeling included, because of, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I'm just missing the hangover at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not missing the buzz.
Yeah, it is weird. I haven't had a hangover in like a year and a half, which is
Isn't it
crazy.
wonderful?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm like, well, I don't even remember what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. You were mentioning the ritual of it and the potential effect on the brain, because I understand that if I go home and I meditate for 15 minutes, it'll probably have the same effect that I would want in a beer, which is to just, you know, put everything behind me, mellow out. I don't have 15 minutes. I got a kid at home. I got 2 crazy dogs. Like, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I have found the ritual of making the beer and everything like that. It goes a long way. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not the same.
Nope.
But it goes a long way and it helps me. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? And like you said, it's not the same. And I think for people, for some people it is the same, but for most people, they just have to come to that recognition that it's not the same for a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, like, you're not going to get buzzed.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a clinician, but alcohol doesn't do great things to your body.
Right.
And so that buzz, those effects, those things that aren't the same is a good thing.
Yeah.
In the NA world, I would say. You know, not anti-alcohol, but, you know, if you're going to replace one with the other, it is a different thing. It's objectively different. And I think recognizing that and accepting it is important.
Yeah, and the good thing for you, in addition to the timing of it with just communal changes and whatnot, is that you have a huge community here, whether it be with Chris Clemens, who connected us, who has a non-alcoholic Instagram feed, which is phenomenal, and he's been, you know, a community light for a long time. You've got, is it Katbucha?
Yep.
You know, you've got a lot of these local people and products surrounding you, circling you.
Yeah, Lucky Frog is
Yeah,
locally
good point.
owned as well. He has some great drinks with ashwagandha and magnesium in them. Cat is like the OG in the Rochester area for like a good, sophisticated, non-alcoholic drink. And then New to Town is For Better For Worse. They just relocated from Portland. They make NA cocktails, you know, canned cocktails, and they're in the Lyle Lotus neighborhood now. But they're new to the scene too.
You know, I didn't think about this, but I'm tempted to believe that I'm going to like canned non-alcoholic cocktails better than regular, because when you can a regular, what you have to do for the preservatives, I don't know. Sorry for anyone who loves it or produces it. But like, for me, I've never really enjoyed them.
I don't know if I ever had a canned alcoholic cocktail, because those really got more popular the last like 6 years or so, I feel like. Or at least in New York, you know, where with different rules and everything. But yeah, the non-alcoholic canned cocktails, there's some really good ones out there, and don't sleep on For Better For Worse.
All right.
Pathfinder is not local, but they make a phenomenal Negroni in a can that I love. But yeah, there's and for me, like, you know, I work at AltBar, I make drinks all the time. I'll make a nice, sophisticated non-alcoholic cocktail at work.
Yeah.
When I get home, I don't want to do it, so I'll open up a can, you know, or I'll drink something neat.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting that that's kind of happening as communities growing and very tight knit. In addition, we kind of talked about the trends that have propelled businesses like yours one of the legal changes might have helped, the legalization of marijuana. I'm wondering if you hear these people saying, I'm going California sober, which is they're not going to touch alcohol, but they are going to use cannabis. Do you see that helping in any way or contributing to this movement?
Absolutely. I think the cannabis movement or the growth of cannabis usage is another factor, like you said. We get a lot of people we don't serve THC beverages at AltBar, but we get a lot of people who ask about it. And it's something that I think about about, because
that's interesting, right?
It's that, again, it's that gray area between it's not, inclusivity is one of our core values. Impact is one of our core values. Respecting other people as humans is our third core value. I don't know if I can still be inclusive and offer THC beverages to the group of people, even if they are the minority, who want to be in a sober space, a non-California sober space.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a market for it, right? There's an untapped market in our community for people who want to have THC infused beverages and non-alcoholic THC infused beverages. And so it's something I think about a lot.
I bet. So much gray. I mean, I guess that's the side effect or the consequence of being at the forefront of something, right? Like you're kind of discovering things as you go. And every state's different too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we're in a Slack group with, NA bar and bottle shop owners around the country. And it feels like the old, cliche that if you've seen one of us, you've seen one of us, because we're all in different states. There's different rules, there's different regulations. Like some states, some of them like having a hard time even getting NA beer because it's through the state beer authority and stuff. And so it's wild, but that's the fun part. I love making new things. I love, like, even in my professional life, in the corporate world, I was always in the new product development, new product stuff. When there's no rules, when there's no precedent, when there's no guidelines, when there's no paradigms or anything to follow, that's where you can screw up, and that's where you can have a lot of fun.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
So I look forward to going. I haven't gone yet. I apologize. But I do look forward to, what hours do you run? How does this work?
Yeah. So Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're open 3 to 9. Fridays and Saturdays, noon to 10. And then we just open up on Sundays from 2 to 8.
So that's interesting. I like the Sunday thing because obviously, do you have TVs for football or anything like that?
We do. We have one. It's more of like a cocktail lounge vibe.
Yeah, okay.
So like
all right.
My original vision was to open up a sports bar, an NA sports bar, which I thought was so cool. But that's not the way that the things progressed. So we do have one TV. We show the Bills when they're on.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's we try to be more like a loungy, cocktail bar vibe.
Did you have the bar thing or the Bills game on yesterday?
I did.
How'd that go?
It was fun. I mean, the game went well, right? Like, so it was good. It was hard. I was working, and so like my back was to it. And like, then I'd see like somebody's reaction. I'd have to like try to turn around really quick to see what happened. But
yeah. Any wine? Do you serve any wine
as
well?
We have NA wines. We always have a white and a red by the glass, as well as sparkling by the glass. And I should also mention we're also a retail shop, so we have all these different wines for sale to take home with you. We have spent a lot of money on bad NA wine. There's a lot.
I wasn't going to say anything.
There's a lot of subpar NA wine out there. So I do think that our selection is pretty well curated to get rid of a lot of the subpar options.
Yeah.
But again, it's not the same. So the red wines in particular, they lack the body. Most of them lack the body, the depth to them. But the sparkling wines are really good.
Yeah.
And the whites are pretty close too.
Yeah, I would say the only ones that I could enjoy are the sparkling so far.
Yeah.
And there are some really decent ones out there.
Wines out there, like really, really good.
Yeah.
We just brought in a new reserve bottle that's like $70 a bottle. And
what?
Right? Like I thought, there's no way, right? There's no way. And we tried it, and I'm like, I hated how much I liked it.
Oh God!
Because like for New Year's we had to open up a bottle, and it was like it's phenomenal. It's so good. But I it's the all that anecdote to share. The sparkling wines have really come a long way.
All right. Well, I'll try it. So I mean, I guess that leads to this question: is there a perspective change that has to happen where someone will shell out 10, 12, I don't know how much you charge per cocktail, for something that doesn't actually have booze in it.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one too, because that's one of the top things we hear in the industry, or not even in the industry, in social media and people in our shop. Like, why would I pay the same amount of money for a cocktail that doesn't have alcohol in it? Because we charge the same amount as you would see at any cocktail bar.
Yeah.
And the reason, let me back into it. The
Please.
reason that we charge the same amount is because the ingredients cost the same to make. So, and there's no well liquors in the NA space yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like bottom shelf gin. Like the gin that we use in our non-alcoholic cocktails retails at $36, $37 a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with the whiskey. It's around $40 a bottle. And so, and we're making house-made syrups. We're fresh squeezing all of our citrus. You know, we still have the same costs any alcoholic bar would have in terms of rent and labor and all that other stuff. So it costs us the same to make.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, as a consumer, are you paying for a buzz or are you paying for a delicious drink?
Mm-hmm.
And are you paying for the experience? Are you paying for the atmosphere? Are you, why do you spend $12 or $14 for a cocktail in an alcoholic setting? Is it because you want to get drunk, or is it because you want to enjoy that experience?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say the experience we're offering is the same minus the buzz. And so that's why, we charge the same, is because it costs us the same, as well as it's the same product that you're getting in that regard. But it does require a mindset shift, because it's a common hesitation that we hear.
Yeah. One of the things that is appealing to folks about a bar or a brewery is you have a couple drinks, you can let some of the filters down. You could,
Sure.
Ease up a little bit. Do you find that people can let their hair down do you find that they are, where they're stepping in one mindset and then kind of moving into the familiar one that you would at a regular bar?
Yeah, I think, I don't have any data to support this, but based on my experience, people are just as chill in AltBar as they are in an alcoholic bar.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception, obviously, of being a little too relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get the sloppiness, which is nice.
Yeah.
For us and for them.
Right.
There's no regrets the next morning. Like, oh, what did I say?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's definitely that same. It's because, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's the atmosphere. It's the experience. It's the ritual. It's all those things we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's being around friends and loved ones too, or
Yeah.
strangers that you're found a common connection with. Like, you don't need booze to have those connections.
No. Last question before I let you go. Your favorite drink at AltBar, if you had to recommend one, what would it be?
I love the beer. So the Twisted Rail on tap is where I go.
Yeah.
In terms of a cocktail, the Dark Crystal right now is like a mezcal Negroni.
Ooh.
And Sabine, one of our bartenders, made that, and it's a phenomenal, complex, bitter, little smoky. That's probably my go-to right now on the menu. Our menu changes every season, so I had to think of my favorite was on the last season's menu, so I might have to bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. I'll ask for it when I come in. All right, Bob, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you.
And good luck with dry January, dry February, dry March.
That's right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bob Hartman joining me now. He and his wife, Meg, started something very special at AltBar, not far from the station here. So we wish them well, and all of you, if you are on your own journey, we hope that you can find some interesting things to drink and talk about. With that, thank you for watching this edition of Adult Interviews. I hope that you can tell your family and friends about the Rochester First app, as we are trying to provide content that you can't find anywhere else. And so far, over the last few months, we have certainly done that. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.